Ah. Okay. So slight change of plans.
I'll just pretend to be frozen. I'm just
All
kidding.
right, chat. So you've probably been here. We did a couple podcasts. Easy team, just kind of talking. Eric doesn't really understand podcasts, so it was more of an interview. It was kind of strange. However, this is more of an opportunity of me to grow my knowledge of life and whatnot. So starting today, every Tuesday we'll do talk about it Tuesdays. So today's guest um, is my sister Alyssa. So quick bio or background before we get into everything. Um, Alyssa's progressed in many ways in her lifetime, changing her career path to different things that suit her interests. From hair salon to movie sets, she's always challenged herself to do something challenging and different, which leads her to be better from day to day. From building brands to being the rich auntie, Alyssa's putting her nose down and building happiness, all while getting to a year in sobriety. Everyone, please welcome my sister, Alyssa Campbell. How you doing, Alyssa?
What's up? I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good.
Didn't
Exhausted.
know you were gonna have such a nice little intro.
Well, I watch. I mean,
Close to crying, you know me. You gotta give me a heads up on that.
ten. I've spent like 10,000 hours last year watching podcasts, so I picked up a couple things.
Oh, okay. I see. I see.
But that's something I watch a podcast called Sean Ryan Show, and that's kind of his thing. Eventually, I want to. He does like he has a Patreon, so like people pay
Mm,
to be a part of his like membership, and then they get to ask questions before the show starts. So eventually, I want to get there because I think that'd be lit.
yeah, for
But
sure.
also more, I don't know. I don't necessarily. I mean, I'd like it to grow like crazy to where I'm just interviewing people that I find interesting, but um, like I'm quiet or Alyssa's quiet. Um, See if that works. Alyssa, say something.
Something?
Okay, that should be better.
Is that better?
Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, eventually I'd like to get to that point where it's like I'm interviewing people that are just famous, I guess.
Who would be who would be your number one
Hmm.
that you
I mean,
would
I'd have to say Matthew McConaughey probably. He's just an interesting guy. Well, if you like got to sit down and talk to any celebrity dead or alive, who would it be?
talk to? I
Did you
don't
say
know about
Hawk
talk to.
Tua?
No, I stop. Stop it right now. Here's the thing. So working on set, it made like the celebrity uh just feel very real because they're humans. And
Right.
so I worked with some like a just really nice, normal people that are, I don't know A-list now, but A, B-list celebrities. And it's just like for me, no, I don't know, feeling that and just seeing that firsthand, I was just like, So talking to, I don't know, but I've always wanted to work with Rihanna
That's a good pick.
because she has an empire. She's a beauty empire, and she is never going to do music again because she doesn't have to. And I think that it's her story. I don't know if you know anything about like any of her empire, like what she has now, but it's just, she's a billionaire and she's doing what she loves. And I would do anything to be able to just work with her and alongside her and just get some knowledge from her because I think she's an excellent businesswoman.
No, for sure. I mean, she's got a lot of shit. Her hands in a lot of shit.
Yeah. I'm saying everybody's like, "Oh, Rihanna, when's the album dropping?" I'm
Yeah,
like, "She's
she's working.
never dropped
Yeah,
an album."
yeah. No, for sure. That's a good
There's
one.
too many successful things
So
happening.
what was I know we kind of talked about it briefly, but for those of you who don't know, Alyssa just worked on a movie. So kind of feeding into the celebrities, like getting to know people. What was that like being around like people that you kind of knew were famous, but you didn't know they were as famous as you thought they were?
Oh my gosh. The first movie I worked on, the cast for that movie was not very like A-list. There is but listen, before I say any of this, all of the people that I worked with are super talented and just excellent. But that kind of round was like round one. It was like, okay, get your feet wet, like meet some people, kind of get into the industry. And then round two, which is the most recent film, which I can talk about now because it's been, the buzz is out. Chuck Liddell, Michael Jai White, Billy Zane, who was in Titanic. So that was kind of wild for me because he, like the Titanic, I mean, I don't know how many times you had to watch it in our house coming
Yeah.
up, but I know I watched it at least 100,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he's the
It's just an
fiance. So
iconic
it's like,
movie, right?
yes, like seeing him in person, it was just one of those things where you're like, God, like, I don't know. I was telling one of my friends, it's like, it's surreal because it's like I know them, but I don't, obviously.
Right.
But it's like you see them so often on TV. It's like, oh, like I know this guy, but like I don't. But truly, like some of the nicest people, very humble, very gracious, no like diva behavior on set at all. So really, really a great experience,
I
honestly.
think that too is part of the reason why like I'd like to get to that point where I like talk to people that are known, kind of to shine that light on they are people. You know what I mean? Because
Oh,
I
for
feel
sure.
like for me, Matthew McConaughey is like somebody so tied up in a lot of different stuff, like politically or whether it be with
Mm,
Texas or whatever. But I feel like he always like I want to try to get them out of that shell of like I have to uphold that. Apparently, Eve's going crazy because she hears your voice.
they're really happy.
um, but like getting out of that comfort zone and like showing us that you're actually a human being. Because like Matthew McConaughey, you have glimpses like when he's like out cheering for Texas or like he was on Two Bears in a Cave, and there's
Yes, I saw
glimpses.
that.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. That's one I would like to talk to somebody like maybe like what's his name Heath Ledger,
Okay.
like somebody who um like clearly had like some shit going on that nobody really knew about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think would be a good one like that. Who I think of is Robin Williams.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, this kind of goes into like what they say about like always check on your friends that are always smiling.
Yes, for sure. It's always the
Right.
happy, outgoing, seemingly so, fun loving that
I
are
mean,
struggling.
that's what people only have good things to say about Heath, like in that
Mm,
aspect. Like he's a great guy, great on set. Now, granted, you hear those stories about for like Batman Returns where he's like just batshit as soon as he gets on scene because he's just
wow.
so bought into the role. But just that process of like, I don't know, maybe it's because like I've kind of lived that. Diddy for sure is crazy, Ty. Uh, maybe the like idea of
Stop.
living like a double life, like a split life. I feel like for a lot of celebrities that's the case. Like I'm surprised that like people losing their mind in Hollywood isn't more common. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it is. I think you just don't see it.
Right. Well, I'm sure a lot.
You-
Like I mean, when you make a lot of money, I'm sure you go to a lot of high end therapists and you have
Oh, for sure.
you have the time and money to take care of yourself. But I really like Tom Hardy. You're
Okay.
wildin'. Bill Cosby and Diddy is crazy. Um, but yeah, just like I don't know. Honestly, I'm down for anybody. If any celebrity sees us, reach out. I'll definitely we'll hook it up. Um, so I gave my type bio on you. What would you say? Like, what's your job? Like, you go in for an interview and people ask about you. What is you? What would you say your go-to response is?
Like what title?
Or just like in general, like you're going in and somebody's like, so tell us about yourself. What do you say?
Ugh. Um, depends on the job I'm going in for. I was just telling John this, like in this job market, my skills are a little diverse, and so I have to have three different resumes depending on what job I'm going for because I have an event background, I have project management, and then I also have executive assisting. So depending on what job I'm applying for would, you know, determine what I would, I guess, title myself. But Um, being a jack of all trades is a curse and a blessing. On the one hand, I'm fantastic at adapting, learning new tasks and new fields. So like I'm very confident that you put me in any industry and I can learn it and I can master it. And within a year, I'm going to be tired of it. I'm going to be bored and I'm going to be ready for the next thing. Um, but yeah, so I don't know. It's right now it's hard for me to define like what who I am, I guess, professionally, because I'm not really following. Other than I guess right now an entrepreneur because I have two businesses. So
Do
I
you feel
guess
like
that's
so?
the right
Like
answer.
I know John, but like, would you say that John is kind of the inspiration behind that? Like seeing that you, because like ultimately, I think now, like everybody needs money,
Yeah.
and like granted, for me, like my outlook on life's different now. Like it was like I'm gonna be a billionaire, but like after having Evie, it's kind of shifted to like I'm gonna make sure that my people were taken care of so I can give back as much as I can.
Mhm.
I mean, a large part of that has to do with me getting back into faith too, but um, it's changed a little bit. Like I still want to make sure like we're way better off than we were growing up, and that
Mhm.
like Evie's set to do whatever she decides to do when she turns 18, whether it go to college or start a career or something. But I mean, in that sense, do you feel like John was kind of like that driving force of like, okay, I know we need money, but I know that one of your biggest things is like I'm gonna be happy regardless of what I'm doing. I'm gonna make sure I like it, and if I don't like it, I'm going somewhere else.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. John is, I mean, obviously a major factor in everything, but it's funny that you say that about your mindset shifting because for me it was turning 30 and then maybe along with that or getting into my 30s, but then also maybe sobriety that really made me kind of shift my focus as well because like you I had the same mentality of like, oh, I want all the money, like I want to do all the things. And now, John and I talked about it earlier, like we just want to spend as much time together as possible. However we can manage to live a life where we can spend as much time, like quite literally every waking hour we can together happy, like that's what we want. And so yeah, for sure we discussed it. And for us, we also love to travel, as you know. So the freedom of having, being an entrepreneur, making your own hours, like making your own schedule was also really important. And just like, I don't know, I don't even call it like work life balance. It's just life. Like you have to just make time to live your life. Like you have, like you said, you have to have money and you have to be able to support yourself and your family and do the things you want to do. But at the end of the day, like you have to be happy. Or what are we doing? Why are we here?
Literally, and I think too, for me, that's kind of like becoming more clear. Is like
Mm-hmm.
part of the reason that I'm ready to leave. It's not that I don't love it here. Like I got a lot of love for Pikeville, and like it's brought me a lot of things. Like it brought me a wife and a life I didn't know that I necessarily. I mean, you can probably attest. Junior year, TJ, you didn't see this outcome happening. Um, so I think I'm grateful, but I think, in the words of one of my bosses, is like you've outgrown this place.
For sure. Yeah. And sometimes it's tough to admit that, but once you get there,
Yeah,
and it's for me, once I know, it's like, I got to get out. Like, I got to get out. And it's very immediate for me. I have to like when I left the salon, it was like within probably a day. Like I had obviously decided like over the weeks, but it was like within a day. I was like, all right, quitting. Like, bye y'all. I'm out. Like this is no longer for me.
so like for you, I mean, clearly very professional individual. So like when you know that your time is done somewhere, I would assume like it's very professional. Like, hey, like this is my 2 week notice. It's time for me to leave.
It
It
depends.
depends on the job. That's
It
fair.
depends. It depends on the situation because here's the thing. Ultimately, yes, because I am a good person. And also the jobs that I've worked with really good people and I've worked myself to positions to where when I leave, it's going to directly affect people that I worked with or worked, that worked under me or whatever it may be. So I don't think that's very respectful to do to your staff to just be like, hey, I'm out. However, there have been some situations at work that were just
Too much.
crazy.
Yeah.
Just oh my God, the stories I could tell that
Yeah.
I'm like, I will not be back under any
That's fair.
circumstance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think too, like, I don't know, for me, like when I came in, it was very like competitive. Like that's just my nature. It's always been that
Mm-hmm.
way. I mean, shit, you know more than anybody. Us playing football in the yard. Um, but so when I got here, it was very competitive, and then like quickly found out that the only person I was really competing with was myself. So then I went through like a spell of like, I don't like this. I don't want to be here. Like there's nothing. There's not the competitive edge wasn't there, and that's something I need to thrive. So yeah, I got to a point to where I was like, okay, well let me deep dive on why I'm actually here, and it came down to the kids. So like being able to be a mentor and like when I was an RA, that nobody cared. Like I don't care that you're a person, you're an RA. Make sure you're doing your job, and I hated that, especially because they talk to us like we're children. And I'm like, bro, I'm an adult. I've been paying bills since I was 14. Like let's you can drop this childish shit. So um, for me, it was like I tell my kids from the jump, like you're an adult. I'm gonna treat you like an adult until you tell me that you're not an adult, and then we'll go from there. Um, but like the finding the purpose, and then it led me to streaming because I mean, kind of the same premise to John. Like you spend so much time on something, you're like, I could be making money on this. Kind of that premise. It's not the best
Mm-hmm.
tactic to have, but when you're a businessman, it's just kind of the way your brain works.
Mm-hmm.
So they got me to this, and then I kind of start, okay, how can I build this? How can I grow this? And then end up starting Easy Brother. So the plan is roughly that next year, I kind of start a program that I can take to colleges across the country. And then from there, just broaden it to like military and high school and like a Big Brother type program.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it all comes back to like the core. Like I found basically my purpose in a sense of like it wasn't something that I was looking for, but I found it, and now I have a better plan of what I wanted to do. Now, in the sense of
How did
Florida,
you find it like original though? Like how did you get into I guess the mentorship? Like was there one person or was it like
well, so for
an organization
yeah,
you were with?
so there's two people that were here when I was in school that basically like sophomore year, all that bullshit was going on, and I was just spiraling. And
Mm-hmm.
they kind of took me in, and I mean, I wasn't really sleeping, so they didn't really sleep either. We kind of linked up, and uh, us being so close kind of led my previous boss. He just left us Friday, but it led him to reach out and say, "Hey, like I got to restart this program," and I think we might. Yeah, if we get kicked, then we'll just start a new Zoom. We'll just take an intermission while I reset that. Um,
Okay.
but like he reached out and was like, "Hey, I want you to help me revamp this program." And then I told him I was like, "Okay, you got 4 years," because at that point, like before me and Matea, it was either Pittsburgh or Florida, and then Matea liked the idea of Florida. So, granted, I'm not sure she's gonna like it as much as she thinks she is, but I guess that's.
Why Pittsburgh?
I just same thing. Like I had people that worked down there that I could get in and do a job.
Mm.
Probably I wouldn't have liked it to be honest, but like I had a
Pittsburgh is crap.
I had a tie in with somebody who worked for the Penguins in their front office, so I could have went work there. But I don't. I'm a Preds fan. I would have just talk shit the whole time.
What's a penguin?
Pittsburgh Penguins,
What's that?
the hockey team.
Oh.
You don't watch hockey? Hockey's
Boy,
the
I don't
shit.
watch any sports.
But yeah, kind of going off of like the, I guess the purpose was there. Like it honestly was like one of those things, you know, when you go through a process and you don't really pay attention to it, and later it kind of like creeps back up on you. It was that premise
Mm-hmm.
of like I had so many bosses as an RA, and I would say there was some good, but there was some really bad ones. And one of the things I hated the most was that like every couple of months somebody would leave, and then I'd get a new boss, and I have to adjust to their leadership style. and it just wasn't sufficient. Cause like especially with them, everyone having the same mindset of like you're an RA, be an RA. So I knew I could do better in that aspect, and that's honestly what I took serious for the past 2.5 years. Like once I realized there was no competition, it was like how can I benefit these kids more than what I was benefited. So that was my goal. If you see some shit moving behind me, you let me know. Okay, this room is freaky as fuck when it's quiet. Okay, so we kind of talked about. So you're, I mean, in terms of, I feel like they probably go hand in hand. But you said that you and John's goal is to just spend as much time together as you can. So would you say that's your biggest goal in life?
Um, I'm working right now to figure out like what I guess to your to use your word, what my purpose is. I'm not quite sure that I figured that out yet. Which for a while I feel like I was looking for that in a professional way, like in a career, in a title, in a role, and in that way, which was the last, 12 years of my life. And so now I'm not really sure like what that looks like. But in the meantime, any day, every day, like yes, that's always the goal is to spend time together because that's when we're the happiest. That and then just I mean making enough money to be able to do shit that we like to do,
That's
you
fair.
know.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Uh, so going off, I kind of talked about it a little bit, but like the competitive aspect and the hardworking aspect. What do you think the biggest lesson you learned from Dad was?
You know, probably not what you would expect me to say, but honestly, I think I took away not working so hard. Like
Interesting.
not killing yourself because here's the thing. I think we can all agree that stress and constantly being let's just say constantly doing like this,
Yeah.
when it came to life or whatever was going on, was not beneficial to his health, regardless of what
Oh, for
his
sure.
medical status was.
I mean, that's part of the reason why I got this.
Yeah, and it's like you have to, and he wasn't mindful about his health at all, and who knows how long he was actually sick before it doesn't matter. But the point being, I think that he could have benefited from some days of relaxation,
Oh,
some
for sure.
hours of time, some sleep. My God, sleep.
Yeah.
That man never got any sleep. Um, because I think the other stuff was obvious. I mean, I think we all saw how hard he worked, like at his job, how hard he worked to support all of us. Even in the worst of times, it was like I was thinking about it actually the other day about how much tenacity he had, and like it didn't matter what was going on in that moment. It he could need to make $2,000 that day, and he's gonna walk out that door and figure out how to do it, and he's not gonna come back until he has the money,
Right.
and that's something that I feel like not a lot of people have, and it's something that I still admire in him to this day. But I think that you have to have some balance. You can't kill yourself, but I also think you can put yourself in a little better position than he was in, by the
Yeah.
time he got to.
Ultimately, I think um, I don't think the perspective. It's like a difference in perspective. So, like for
Mhm.
me, like it's like the I don't know. I guess like the masculine takeaway. So, like for me, that was like that's like the this is the baseline. Like you don't sleep, you bust your ass to make sure your family's taken care of. Now, I would say the biggest thing I learned in that sense of like, which is the same reason I went to college. Like for me, I didn't think college was an option sophomore year. I mean, granted, I was doing a whole bunch of fuck shit, but like I never thought that I would play at the next level. So when colleges started looking, I was like, okay, this is an opportunity. So I can take the opportunity with sports to learn the shit that dad wasn't good at teaching me. So like,
Mhm.
I know I have the work ethic. I know I can bust my ass, and
Mhm.
kind of the same premise of like the tenacity of like, this is what I need to do. I'm gonna go get it. I have
Mhm.
those core traits. But like, what about business? Like, how do I scale this the proper way? And then
Right.
how do I make sure that I have money stored away so I'm not in a position where, granted, not that Dad ever told us no on anything, but like I'm not hurt by giving Evie or Mateus something they wanted. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah, because I can imagine it's hard to say no, as a parent or as anybody. Like it's hard to tell someone you love that they can't have something. Like I know John would be like he calls it Alyssa wins, but I know that,
Right.
there's a standard that was
Yeah,
set. So, because of that, because he never said no. So
for sure. But I think
yeah.
that's interesting too because we kind of talked about like the anatomy of the brain and how like kids can grow up the same way but have different traumas. So
Hmm.
that's kind of interesting too. Like, I guess it's like, dude, it's so interesting. Like the aspect that you take away as like a daughter compared to a son, and let alone
Yeah.
the oldest son, like just uh, like granted, I don't think. I mean, me and Dad were close. Like we spent so much time together, it's hard not to be close. But like today, I say he's my best friend. But like, were we? You know what I mean? I guess at the time, probably because we spent so much time together. Like I was probably spending more time with him than anybody else. Whether it
Yeah.
be him pulling me out of school to go work or at sporting events. Um,
Gotta do what you gotta do.
but it was just like, even now, like I would say before getting back into faith, I would say like that was my pedestal. Like I'm just trying to be more like my dad. Like I know I'll never get there, but like
Hmm.
that's my goal. Like lay my body, life on the line to make sure that people I love are taken care of.
Hmm.
And I think uh I heard like an interview and they were talking about like what it takes to be a man. And this is before like I get back into religion, but they were like, I don't think you can be a good man without having God in your life. And I was like, damn, okay. I guess I'm a piece of shit. But like kind of coming around like, oh, this is bigger than me. Like there's no way somebody who has my past should have it as good as I have it. And then getting back into faith and it's like, okay, now it makes sense. Like I think that's I don't know, I think Dad lived like the values of Christianity without actually being a Christian.
Yeah.
Like how many times did you hear stories about him just going out of his way to help people?
Yeah, for sure.
And then like all the money that he was in debt because he was doing work for old people and not having to pay them. Like the values are there, but it was just like I don't know, it could have been something in his past that we didn't know about that kind of like turned him away from it. But it's just really interesting. Like you have all the values there.
I don't know, because I remember we went to church like
Yeah, I remember that.
when you were younger. We stopped going, honestly, when me and my Cammy died.
Yeah.
That was like a turning point for sure. But I don't really remember who was supposedly religious. Like I don't know if it was like dad, you know what I'm saying, like dad's family or like mom's family because Gran was
Okay. Mm, mm, mm. Bullshit. They trying to make me pay fucking. Look at this. Fuck. That is correct. All right. Okay. All right. Do you remember what you were talking about before we cut off?
Yeah, I was saying that I don't remember who was religious, like which
Hmm.
side of the family was religious.
I know.
I just went to church. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I mean,
Sorry.
it was like Anna was religious.
Well, but here's the thing. Not really until later, like until after Jerry died. I don't think they went to church. I might be wrong, but I don't think so. She definitely was still reading the Bible and stuff though, I feel like she always kept the Bible by the bed, if I remember correctly.
I don't like that. I'm flipped away from me now. That's strange. Um. Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember going to church with Anna. Oh, Anna Russell. You never went to church with Anna Russell?
Wait, did you know Peabody Jerry or no?
I have like a vague memory of him.
Yeah, see, that's why he was going to church with her because that was after Jerry. After Jerry died.
What does that mean?
I don't think she was religious before that is what I'm saying.
Oh, I see.
Because she went to that church out in Crestwood, but she didn't go with him. She went after he passed. Because Kirsten was saying that she was spending all of like her money with the church after he passed and like left her some money, I guess.
Hmm. Well, I know that he had money.
Yeah, he had money from real estate and he was an auctioneer or not an auctioneer, but he went to auctions. He was good at doing stuff
To
like
like
that.
flipping stuff.
Hmm.
Well, I remember hearing the story about him going to buy a car, and they like because he wore shoes that had holes in them. They like, yeah, okay, you can't buy a car. And then he went to a dealership and bought two of them.
Hmm.
I was like, dumbass. Yeah, that's a flex. Um, but yeah, no, yeah, I guess that's fair. Like, not sure where it came from, but I know we went to that one right off Bardstown. That would have been right after, before or after we moved to Farmview.
Yep. We went for Christmas and Easter. And then we just stopped going all together.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened.
I mean, like, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like it? Do you feel like stop going, like it separated you from religion?
No, because I feel like I had my own questions about, like, I just, at a young age, I couldn't understand, I guess, loss and grief from when Mima Cami died. And even though I was young, probably too young to really comprehend death when she died, I feel like it really affected me. And I just couldn't understand, like, why God would let like bad things like that happen to who I thought was a great person. I don't really, like I said, I was young, so I don't really know her like that. I don't know if she was, I don't really know her from
Right.
Adam, but
That's fair.
um, but to me, she was my grandma. She always took care of me. Like I have very fond memories, and so that was something that I always struggled with, and that's, I mean, honestly, even still to this day, I don't know, that and many other reasons, but I don't think that I don't know. Like I didn't really care. It's not like when we went to church, I was like
Bought into what was going on.
invested
Right.
and listening and like reading the script. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like I was a kid, so I wouldn't know any different. I was just trying to eat some candy and probably try to take a nap, and Kim was smacking me to keep me awake. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
That's fair. I don't know. I think coming my path was the same way. Like I couldn't, which I think is a lot of the times the case, is like people get away from religion because they don't understand why things happen. My takeaway recently is like it's not our place to understand. Like there's something bigger than us. Um, and I think honestly, the scripture that's been like in my head constantly is the Book of Job. Are you familiar with the Book of Job? Okay.
Listen, you could tell me this what you're about to tell me could be an absolute lie, and I'll be like, cool, bro.
So Job was like this like cookie cutter perfect person, right? Like he was nice to everybody and he did all these like great things. like out of his own sheer goodwill, right? Like
Mhm.
trusting in God, and then Job just continually like just would get something good and then it get taken away from him. Kind of the same
Yeah.
premise. Like as kids, you don't like you don't understand. You just like are here. You have people that take care of you. They're nice people, and then something happens to them, and you're like, "What the hell?" Um,
Mhm.
so Job was like God, why me? And God's response was, "Why not you?" Damn. And then like there's kind of like I don't know. I think the biggest thing is like in the Bible a lot. There's like tests. Like there's times that God could like cure people. Like Jesus could go and like put his hands on somebody and cure them, take away all their pain, and then he didn't
Mhm.
because their faith was so strong that he knew that even if he didn't, like that's a prime example of like I can do this, but like you believe in me so heavily, like you trust in me with your life, but for me not to do this, it's a picture to other people of like he's great, he can cure me, but because I believe in him so strongly, like he has this promise of eternal life that he isn't curing this human body of me. Like it's like a
Ooh, tomato, tomato.
I don't know,
Okay,
it's super
tomato,
interesting to me.
tomato. No, it is, but I'm just like, I don't know. I guess I get too hung up in, I guess, the why, and that's why I can't because I'm just my mind is too logical, and I'm
Would you
like,
say that you're agnostic or atheist? Do you know the
I mean,
difference?
I don't say that I'm anything. Here's the thing. I believe this is gonna sound stupid. I believe in I believe in magic. And other people would call it something else, probably. But magic to me is things that can definitely be explained in other ways. Like, for instance, even scientific ways. A rainbow is magic to me. The way that it feels when Evie grabs my finger is magic to me.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there are so many things in life that are just magical. Like, that's how I would describe them is like, they're magical. They make me so soulfully happy. Like, you know, those things that I'm talking about that
Yeah.
you can feel like deep in your body. Like, those things to me, I call them magic. So, whatever that means to
Yeah,
you,
fair enough.
you take it for what it is. And here's what I think to me is great about religion is that we can all feel this same way, but we have different ways that we're describing it and expressing what it means to us, right? Because you might not describe what I'm
It's magic.
describing as
Yeah.
magic. You would describe it as something,
That's God. Right.
divine or,
Right.
whatever. I just I don't align it with that. I'm like, this is magic. But, if we go down to the base of it, it's all the same. We're all saying the same thing.
Right.
It just it's like you said, it's just perspective. It's just how you talk about it, how you feel it for yourself and what I guess you choose to do with it. I just choose to soak up those moments and try to have as many of them as possible in life because I guess that's to me kind of the game of life is how many of these moments can you collect kind of. And I hope you get to see them at the end.
Let me
I don't
ask
know if that's true.
let me
You
ask you
do.
this because I feel like um I don't know, I really like asking people this question, especially like people who have different views than mine. But like say you die, right? And you like follow the light, you're standing at heaven's gates and you see God. What do you think you say to him? Like do you say anything to him?
The only thing that came to my mind in this moment, like picturing it happening, was just holy fuck. because because I don't like to me that's not a thing that I think would ever happen.
That's fair.
Like
Yeah.
in my like I just don't. So it's like if that did happen, my that would be my first thought. I don't know that I would say it. That would be my first thought because I would be like, "Oh shit,
Yeah.
he's real."
Yeah.
Like that would be my first thing. It's like, "Oh, oh."
Yeah. Because I get a lot of different answers. Some people are like, "Oh, like ask for forgiveness," and to me, that's like
Okay.
that's cowardly, like almost to an extent. Like especially those who say like they'd ask for forgiveness, knowing
Does the
like,
Bible tell you what you're supposed to do?
I mean, I don't really like. I'm sure it does talk about like the entry, but it's not. I haven't really gotten to it. So I've read the Bible before, but like my understanding isn't like what I want it to be. So I'm rereading it.
Right.
But um I'm sure there's like the premise of like the steps of like how it happens. But like for me, for somebody who said they believe in God to like be face to face with God and be like, I'm so sorry. It's almost like a cop out. Like you fucked up. You know you fucked up, and you're not owning it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see that.
Because like for me, like happens tomorrow. I'm face to face with God. I'm not asking for forgiveness. All I'm saying is like, sorry I ever doubted you. Because like I'm back now. Like I talk to him every day.
Yeah.
Granted, I mean,
Also, I feel like, what's the point if you're already there of like asking
right,
for forgiveness?
right. Like it's
That's
already
why
yeah, it's already
that's what the Bible says you're supposed to do. Because if not, then like, what's if you're there? My assumption is that you're already in, right, baby?
well, I
You
mean,
made it.
well, ultimately the process is
Or no?
like you're face to face and they open your book and like say like what you've done, good and bad, like everything you've ever done. And then
Oh, they
there's a
say
quote,
it to your
yeah,
face.
there's a quote in the Bible that like messes with a lot of
Dang,
people's heads, and it's like a face to
that's like a waste of time.
yeah,
Why are we doing that?
it's like a dude's face to face with God, and he says, "Go from me, I never knew you." Like that shit. Like imagine hearing that. Like you're face to face with God, and he's like, "I never knew you." It's basically saying like you basically like you didn't do right by me, so like I never knew you, and you're his son. That's like mind blowing. Like I can see why it messes people up, but at the same time, like a big thing for me is accountability. Like if you fuck up, like own that. So if it comes down
Yeah.
to it, and I'm face to face with God, and He's like, you gave up on me for however long, 4 years, 8 years, however long it was. You cuss, you do this and this. I'm like, take it on the chin. You're right. Sorry that I ever doubted you. Like that's all I'm gonna say. It's not like, oh, a cop out. Like, oh, maybe he'll let me in. It's more of like, that you're the guy. Sorry. Like, sorry I wasn't better for you. Essentially, it's kind of suppressing when you say it that way. But no. So when you say like, I get what you're saying with like the magic aspect.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. So like, let me tell you this experience I had, right? And let me see what your takeaway is from it.
Okay.
I'm assuming it's gonna be magic of some sort, but I'm curious.
Okay.
So for I don't know, since I've gotten back into religion, I've been like praying, asking for guidance on like what's my next move. Like, is it time to leave Pikeville, right?
Hmm.
And now, like current day, looking back, there's a lot of things like those like minor inconveniences that happen in life, and you're like, oh, it's like it just happens. It's life, right? So a
Hmm.
lot of those happen. It's like no Wi-Fi for 17 days, or power goes out, or water goes out, and I'm asking, like, God, bro, tell me what you want me to do. Like, I got you. You just gotta tell me, right? So like it happens. Oh no, it's just campus. It's how it is. Well, it's like it's really weighing on me heavy. So I pray, like, talk to me. Typically, I'll like get in before bed. I'll pray, and then I'll like watch an episode of YouTube or something. So I get in bed, I watch an episode, and it's not like based in religion. Like it's a story about a guy who was religious that went out on a hike and got lost. And that's the video I'm watching. So I'm like, all right, after this video, I'll go to sleep. Typically, I'll just turn the TV off. Some reason, I go back to like my recommended videos to watch. Very next video it says, God won't show you this till you're ready. So I'm like, okay. So I click on it. Never seen the YouTuber, never seen any of his content. Some goof from the UK. Okay, I couldn't even tell you his name. Never seen him before. And he's like telling a story about how he went out for a run one night and he had a choice between running down like a lit path or going around this pond. And he starts running around this pond and he hears dogs barking. And his dog runs up, it's like jumping at him, trying to bite him, and it like shakes him up. He's all messed up. Well, he finishes his run, and a couple of days later, he goes for a walk, and he's faced with the same option. Do I take this lit path, or do I take the one around the lake? So he chooses the one around the lake, but the whole time he's walking, he's thinking, this dog's going to come out. And by the time he finishes his walk, the dog never came. So he's like, okay. And then I'm kind of like half listening. Like I'm like, this guy's telling me a story about walking. Like how's this guy telling me like what he needs me to know? So I'm like, okay. And he's like, ultimately, what I'm trying to say is God will give you two options, the easy one and the hard one. And the easy one doesn't get you closer to Him. So if you're facing a hard decision with something that's easy, something that's hard, take the harder choice. And I'm like cold chills, eyes tearing up. I'm like, bro, this is what? So I pause it, like, you're amazing, like loud and clear. It basically the only thing I compare it to is like when I was younger and dad would tell me, hey, like don't do that or do this. And I would listen and he smacked me in the back of the head. That was God smacking me in the back of the head. Like, hey, come on, man. You didn't have Wi-Fi for 17 days. You're losing money. I've been trying to tell you to get out of here. You ain't listening to me.
Well, I'm glad you finally got the message.
But is that the magic, how you would phrase it? That's a magic thing?
Yeah, if it moved you, like if you felt it, which it seems like you did.
So in that sense, like, of like magic, so there's probably good and bad in that sense too, right?
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely dark magic or black magic. Have you ever been to New Orleans?
I've never been in New Orleans.
Scariest place in the world.
See, for me, I think it was like energy. Like I would consider myself before finding religion again. It was more like agnostic. Like I claim to be atheist, but agnostic is more like you think something's there, but you don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
So like, looking back now, I was more agnostic. Like I didn't really have the like my mindset wasn't right, I guess. So like for me, it was energies. Like there's positive and negative energies, and that kind of goes into like I would take it you believe in ghosts. What was it?
Like
You got
spirits.
some good
Sure.
ghosts, yeah, some ghost stories. Um, so like in that sense, like
I don't
that's
talk about them in my house because it makes me nervous.
no, that's fair. But yeah, no. So
My
like
house is quiet, and I want it to stay quiet.
that's fair. But yeah, and I honestly like Matea's been she's been religious. Granted, she like started going back to church before I got back in religion, and she would ask me if I wanted to go. To me, which I could be wrong. Like I said, Judgment Day, God could be like, "Hey, you didn't go to church," and I'd be like, "That's on me. All right, go ahead and send me to hell." But for me, like, I don't think churches are what they used to be. Like in the biblical sense of like when Jesus was going around and like spreading gospel, it's not the same anymore. Like there's like a money grab behind it, like everything else. And there's a whole
Yeah, for
deeper
sure.
biblical thing of like Satan and having his hands and everything. But yeah, so I'm not a big church person. Ultimately, the way I see it is like my relationship's between me and God. So I shouldn't have to go somewhere to. And I mean, I've started like a men's Bible study group. Like I spread the gospel, but it's kind of in my own
Mm-hmm.
way instead of going and being in a congregation of people who say that they're this denomination but do shit that doesn't really fit that.
Yeah, I don't think you have to go to church to be religious or to practice your faith. I think you can do that.
But also at the same
I
time,
think
nobody
it's
really knows.
you.
People can say,
Yeah,
"Hey, this is what the Bible says," or "This is what you know, whatever," but nobody knows. So
nobody
I
knows.
guess we'll find out eventually, or we won't. But
No, we never will.
yeah,
We never will unless someone can come back and tell us. We'll never know.
but no, we will know. I mean, if we die and it's nothing, then we're like, okay. But at the same time, though, like the way I viewed it is like, what what if you like you're living your life religiously,
Mm.
and like what if it's like, you die and it's black, like Terry said, like then what? But then it's like, is it a waste of a life if you lived the way Jesus wanted you to and was like nice to people and didn't hold grudges and did things for like I feel like that life that you leave behind is better than being a piece of shit and saying fuck you to everybody you see. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
But ultimately,
Man,
I don't know. I'm just trying to be better out here.
yeah. I think that's all you can do in the end is just be a good human and hope for the best after life, you know.
For sure.
Hope for the
Um,
best.
what would you say your best childhood memory is? Do like if you have one that's like solely you, maybe like a family memory, and then like a memory with me.
I always liked that my birthday fell in the summer because I feel like I always got to do funner stuff than y'all got to do. So we would go to like Holiday World for my birthday. I thought that was lit. So that was like an individual thing that brings back good memories. And anytime I like think about Holiday World, I always think of like our childhood and going there when we were younger. Um,
People don't even know that place exists anymore.
what?
People don't even know that place exists anymore.
Really?
I'd be like Holiday World. They're like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Are you high?"
It's like same. It's like the same as it used to be. Like I don't think
Yeah,
it's
no.
changed
I mean, I've
much,
been a
but
couple times in college, but
that's definitely a core memory. With the family, I would say, I mean, core memory is just, I guess, meals and like going out to eat because I feel like we did that a lot
that's your
growing up
vibe.
everywhere. Like Ichiban, Olive Garden,
Longhorns.
fucking Tony Roma's, Longhorns, anywhere, everywhere. Like that was one thing we were gonna do. Like we did not have any money, but we were going to eat out, guaranteed.
No, for sure.
Like, avocado toast. Listen, that was us. You know what I'm saying? That concept of spending money where you don't need to be spending.
Yeah, that's fair. Where does
You
that come
know, like
from?
going to be doing it. Huh?
What does that saying come from? Avocado toast?
The avocado toast? Uh, boomers claim that millennials spend their money on avocado toast, and that's why they can't afford homes.
Ah,
Like a little joke about like spending your money in the wrong areas,
I
but
see.
realistically, it's because no one makes enough money to be able to afford these home prices. But they'll blame it on anything but that.
Yeah. No, for sure. What about memory with
Yeah,
me?
and then oh yeah, and Spaghetti Factory, like things like
Ooh,
those
baller,
types of places
baller.
where we went.
Spumoni.
Yeah, where we went like during fancier times. And then with you, like when we were kids,
In general. I mean, I feel
me
like
and Chelsea always talk about how we used to scare you and stuff. We still laugh about that a lot.
and you're the
I'm
reason that
sorry that we
and you're
took
the reason
tissue.
that I bully my daughter.
You and poor Ty, like y'all got it so bad. But yeah, that was a time. Honestly, I feel like the one like main memory, and I feel like it makes sense because of just who you are, is just sporting events, like being at all of your like events, like whether it was baseball, football, uh basketball for the short while you were doing that. I just feel like it was like you in a jersey and then me like posing by you
That's
for
fair.
like
Do you remember
10
when I?
years of
You remember in fifth grade when I got that black eye and then I had the stomach flu?
no.
Dude, so
You got a black eye?
listen, in the fifth grade we had a game and I went to shoot a three, and this cat that I played football with goes to contest the three, but he just punched me in the face, like not even attempted to block the shot. So I go to the
You
free
call
throw
the foul?
line. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh.
I get to shoot three free throws. I'm at the free throw line, and I swear I see three baskets. I missed the first. I missed the second. I hear Kim from the stands yell, "Shoot for the one in the middle," and I made it right. The following week is picture day. I have the stomach virus. I am fucking this white, no bullshit, with a black eye. I remember sitting in the hallway of TJ Middle School, shivering, and my like assistant coach puts her jacket on me. I'm so cold, and I, for my life, tried so hard to get that picture. I'm like, I need that picture. Like that's legendary. Black eye, pale as fuck. They didn't have it.
What do you mean?
They just, I guess they didn't save it. I don't know, but I went back to go get it like in high school, and they didn't have it.
That's whack.
But I guarantee, like, I would say if it was like now, like if I was in elementary school now, I could easily find it somewhere. But yeah, they didn't have it. I was like, dude, that picture's legendary. I would frame that shit. But you don't
With
remember
the
that?
black.
That's wild.
No. I feel like now that you say that vaguely, did it have anything to do with your nose or was it just your eye?
No, just my eye.
Hmm.
What do you feel like what did you get for what did you get in trouble the most for growing up? Does that make sense?
In school, talking. Surprise,
And look, here we are
surprise.
doing a podcast. Crazy.
Surprise, surprise. Yeah. Literally talking. Yes. Oh my gosh, I got in so much trouble for talking. I was not bad in school. I was very good in school. But me and Chelsea, we used to get in trouble for laughing a lot. In our science class, yeah. Just but at home, I don't know. Like I remember getting whoopings for not cleaning our room and like stuff like that. But I don't know, like I really don't remember being bad. Like maybe getting into stuff that wasn't mine or something. I don't know why I'm like, I was a great kid. I feel like that's not true, but I can't think of anything. You would have to ask Kirsten. Maybe she would know more than I do about like what I got in trouble for. But I know that I was chatty and I feel like I was maybe sneaky. Like I feel like I was definitely getting into some stuff that I
Oh,
shouldn't have
you're
been
for
getting
sure that
into.
type when you do something and you'd be
And
like, "What?
Kim was probably coming in like, "What are you doing? Like that's not yours. You need to get out of that."
What are you
You know.
talking
So
about?
probably, yeah, yeah. You know.
What do you think
I don't
your
know. I found out recently that cancers, like the zodiac sign, are manipulative. And so
I can see it.
I told you 30, like ever since I've been in my 30s, my mind has started working differently. And I just think about things differently and I think about things a lot. And when I heard that, I heard it a lot in one day and I was like, "Oh my gosh, am I manipulative? Like, am I?" I'm like trying to think like do I have these tendencies? And I'm thinking of I have a lot of friends that are also cancers. So I was thinking about them and I was like, oh no, they are. And I was like, oh no. And so I talked to John about it. And we decided that in some ways, because what did I tell you the game was? Alyssa wins. So Alyssa knows how to get what she wants, aka manipulative.
I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah, I can totally see that. That makes plenty of sense. So, um, what do you think your best memory from the Farmview house is? Do you remember Dad's cinnamon challenge?
Yeah. Dude, honestly, that house had way too many memories.
Yeah,
Like the cinnamon challenge.
I feel
That's
like
where I did my first dip. I did my first keg stand at that house. It's just like just too much. It was like wild shit too. Like I don't know why so much crazy like shit happened. Like dad fell out of a tree in that house.
fell off the porch, busted his head open on that house.
You tackled old boys. You tackled old boy in the front yard of
Old
that
man,
house.
that old
Yeah.
boy's old man. I tackled an 80-year-old old man in the front yard.
You
I tackled you one
know what
time
I'm
and your
saying?
pants came down, your ass was on my face. That happened at that house.
And then also the people that just like came in and out. Like Troy lived there. He had a dog. I don't know if you remember that. That
Ty,
also
Ty
lived
said,
there.
Ty said, City got eaten.
Exactly. You know, Capo. Like, let's not forget about that. So much, literally
Dude, he
so much
drugged me.
stuff.
Bro, I forgot about that shit. And then bro, the other day I was walking to work and my knee was hurting so bad. And for some reason I had that memory of I took Capo out and he started chasing a squirrel. And he drugged me through a yard and I stepped in a hole and like cut my knee open so bad. And I was
That
like,
dog
why?
was
Why did that thought pop in my head?
crazy.
But also at the same time, like I feel like he would have been way better off if we had like a fenced in yard.
Yes. Yes, no, that dog, as soon as you open the door, he was like, shoo, gone.
Oh shit.
Ah, man, that house. Also, I had a water bed in that house. You know what a water
Yeah.
bed even is?
Yeah. The front.
That's
Yes.
crazy.
Um.
And the floor, do you remember the floor of my
Yes.
closet?
Yes. And we would fucking pull
Yeah,
ourselves up through your closet, and scare the fuck out of you. Yeah. And then you had that
Oh my-
fucking, you had that Joker poster in your closet that would scare the shit out of you. You had nightmares about it.
Also, somehow I was the only one in that house. Maybe that's why all of y'all feel the way you feel about me. Because I was the only one in that house that got my own room. The only one.
Like after Kirsten moved out.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. No, that brought some fucking trauma to me, so appreciate that.
You ended up getting your own room though, right? When we moved to English.
I mean, eventually, like, and not even really. Tal was basically in there all the time because Tal was sleeping on the couch. Once Cindy moved out, so like me and Ty shared the front room.
Wait,
Yeah.
not when I moved out. You should have.
No.
Should have had your room when I moved out.
Well, I don't know why that wasn't the case.
Me and John only lived there for a few months after we left the Highlands place
Yeah.
before we.
I think I might have. Well, again, Ty was with me all the time.
Up in each other's assholes.
Yeah, no. Dude, I remember
Okay.
we talked about this. Me
See
and Ty talked about this not too long ago. I used to wake up. Yeah. I used to wake up in the mornings, and Ty would be playing GTA, knowing damn well he wasn't supposed to be playing GTA. And then I'd like yell at him to get out. And I told him, I was like, it wasn't even the fact that you were playing GTA. Like, I don't give a fuck. You could play whatever you wanted. It was the fact that you were button mashing and waking me up. That's what pissed me off. And he was like, damn, bro, I thought you cared about me playing the game the whole time. I was like, no, I don't care about that. I was trying to sleep. But, and then also, Ty makes a valid point. He said fire wouldn't change a thing. We had that guy broke into the house.
Oh yeah. I didn't live there then.
Yeah, no. I was in the middle. I was in your old room, and then
I
Cindy.
never died in my house. R.I.P.
Yeah.
Oh, not that house.
Wait, what?
Yeah, fake.
Yeah, Fakenbush house.
That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. But after you moved out, I was living in the middle room, and then that guy broke in, and then after that, Todd like slept in the living room, or he'd be in my room. And at some point, Cindy moved back in the
I
living room.
kind of forgot about that too.
Yeah.
About that guy breaking in. What the hell?
Yeah. Fucking what else? What else happened at Farmview House? Fucking Cindy went through the bushes and left it.
Also, is all of this trauma? Because it all is hilarious to me.
I mean, I guess it depends.
I'm like, oh yeah, that happened, and then it's like trauma, and I'm like, LOL.
Well, for me now, like I'll look back at shit and then, bro, that is Ty, you're a liar. That's fucking hilarious. Going through the fucking. He said Cindy followed in the bushes and leaving a fucking a print of her body for 2 months isn't funny. That's fucking hilarious.
Wait, where was that one? That was at
At
Fakenbush?
Farmview.
At Farmview?
Yeah.
In the front? Why did she even do that?
We were going down the hill.
Oh wait, with the bike?
Yes, and we were going down the hill of Gary Mudd's driveway.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, no, I mean
yes.
definitely trauma. I think.
Also,
Oh,
didn't she do something with like
Okay,
a
that's not
bird?
funny. That's not funny. That's fair. What'd you say?
Do you remember when she was trying to take pictures of those birds and she was like on a ladder
Yes,
at Farmview?
yes, in a fucking with her ass cheeks out. Yeah, I recall.
What?
I remember.
How is this like?
I remember fishing fucking dead squirrels out of the pool.
I was telling John about the mice. There was always like little baby dead mice in the winter in the basement.
Yeah. I remember one
on the
time.
basement steps, it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like a little family of dead mice that were like trying to escape.
No, there's multiple mice stories from Farmview. I remember one time I was in the basement. I'll look up on the fucking seal of the house, and I saw a mouse running. And I told Dad, and he goes, "Don't tell your mom." That was honestly, I heard that too many times. We'd fall asleep in the fucking car at the bus stop, and we missed the bus. And then he'd be like, "Don't tell your mom." And then he'd show up like, "Oh, the bus didn't go. I gotta take TJ to work." Oh man, but no, there was a fucking mouse. He was in the kitchen doing like making dinner, and a mouse just fell in the sink water. And this man grabs it barehanded, walks it through the house, throws it in the toilet, and flushes it, bro. I was like, and then we had.
playing?
Yes.
It was just holding
Yeah.
it us?
Well, no, they go stiff when you pick them up by their tail.
Mm.
One time we were at fucking Kroger on hikes, and we had that. Remember that gray Suburban with the blue stripe?
Mm.
We had that Suburban. We were at the store. We come out. He goes to take a drink of tea, and there's a fucking mouse in it, and he almost took a drink out of it.
Not in the Suburban, though.
Also witnessed him drop a roll of toilet paper almost in the toilet at Farmview, and he smacked the lid of the toilet and fucking caught the toilet paper in the seat. That was hard. I'm starting to get glimpses. It's dad reflexes. I'll be over there.
You'll be a pro in no time.
Yeah, soon. It's growing for sure.
You walking yet?
Yeah, apparently she was about to earlier.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
Yeah. But she's
But like
in
once
a-
she does, she'll be going quick.
Oh yeah. I mean, she crawls fast as shit. Especially when you're not watching her. She'll be crawling real slow, you look away, and then she fucking scurries.
What do you think about like? Would you want her to have like? Would you want like Kirsten, like me or Ty to have kids so that she has like kids she can grow up with?
I mean, I don't see you or Kirsten having kids. But honestly, I mean, she's got plenty of she's got plenty of unrelated cousins. Like, I mean, Trip's got kids, and
Yeah, like you have a network.
yeah,
That's what John and I were talking about because we were talking about how like I don't know how you feel about it. I would love to hear like your perspective. But when we were kids and like our grandparents were still alive, like we would see our cousins a lot. Like we would go over to Aunt Shell's and see like Shelby and Olivia, and we would like hang out, and the parents would like hang out. We would go. Obviously, we wouldn't see Aunt Karen because she lived in Florida, but we would see like JT and them. Like it just seemed like we saw them so frequently. They were basically like our friends in childhood, and then once you know our parents got into it like later in life, we just like didn't see each other anymore, and that kind of sucked. But John had a similar childhood in the sense where he had a lot of cousins that he was always around, and we agreed that like we enjoyed that,
yeah,
as just having that. But we were talking about it in the sense of like you guys don't live here, and just building your network of people that maybe aren't necessarily your like immediate family when it comes to like obviously you guys would be in our immediate network but you're not like in town.
yeah,
But when it comes to like for instance, I don't know if you saw, but like Shelby's about to have a baby.
yeah.
She's pregnant.
Right.
And it's like
It's
I don't
also-
feel a
it's-
connection with
hey,
her.
Listen, it's wild me having a baby, but it's definitely wild for her having a baby.
I know, I was like, oh man, I don't even know, what a fun mom. I don't
Yeah.
know. Only know her as like like we're alcoholics together, so I honestly can't speak to
Well, see,
anything.
yeah, that's
like,
kind of the perspective.
I'm not Shelby for our
As a-
drinking days.
Also, isn't she a teacher?
Yeah, she's a grade school teacher.
Yeah. So like to think of like I could never be a teacher. Mentor's one thing. I could be like, hey, this is what I did. Don't do that shit,
Mhm.
right? But like to be a teacher, and you can't tell them what you've done. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. But since we're not close, it's like I don't know. I feel like it's not the same as when we were coming up, and those types of like connections just aren't like they're not there. They're not like the same. So I was curious how you think about it now that you have a daughter, and like
Yeah.
what kind of people you want in our life versus
Well,
because family's not, when you say family, like I'm gonna put quotes on that, family meaning the people that maybe share this similar blood as you are not necessarily the people that you want around you all the time.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think the biggest adjustment when you have kids, like once you start a family, I mean, I'm sure you went through the process too, but like once you get married, like your family your entire life is no longer your immediate family.
Mm-hmm.
So like yeah, you still treat them as their family, but like it just gets deeper. The like when you have a kid, then it's like okay, my concern is not adhering to whatever plans you have for Christmas because yes, you're family and like we love you and we want to see you, but like we have our own plans. Like this is our family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, which is, I mean, that's kind of something I know. I think my struggle was more like I had a lot of resentment when we first had Evie, because like Matt and Wendy would call every day, 30 times a day, and like I didn't
Mhm.
have that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So like there was a little resentment there, and now like I see the perspective of like this is their grandbaby. This is the only actual grandbaby that they're gonna have. So I get it, and I couldn't say that Dad would have been any different. Like I'm sure he would blow me up all the time. Um, but there's a
For
lot
sure.
like there's a lot of like the dealing with like losing Dad. People say like, oh, it gets easier. It doesn't. You really just get better at managing it.
Mhm.
But like I'd say wedding day was really tough. I mean, I cried like a bitch, and I wasn't even planning on. Like I was completely fine until 5 minutes before the ceremony. And C fucked me over, and she was like, showed me a picture. She took a picture of Dad's seat. So I go over to talk to him, and like 5 feet away, just uncontrollable sobbing, like the ugliest cry you've ever seen. And then I go back to the boys, and all of them were crying. I'm like, all right, we gotta clean it up, boys. And then we leave, and it's the same shit. Like I'm full blown crying. Like I told Matea, marrying you is the easiest thing I've ever done. Doing it without him was by far the hardest. Um,
Yeah.
but like that continues to like I'm always gonna have those like moving forward. Like
Mhm.
Dad wasn't there to see my firstborn, and then like God willing, I have a son. He won't be there to see the next Terrence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. In that
Is that what
aspect,
you're gonna name your son as Terrence?
yeah. Matea wants to have twins.
The same exact name?
The fourth, call him T4.
That's cute.
Um, I think Matea's gonna call him Wayne.
Like, call him that forever, like
Probably.
as his name.
Well, I mean, like I've had so many nicknames. It's probably hard for her to find one that I haven't been called. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, T4 is tough as fuck. Especially like imagine him playing sports, like playing football, and I'm calling him T4. That's hard. But
You just like on his football jersey, you just put a T and then the number 4.
exactly. I like the way you think because I wore 4 at one
Yes.
point,
You know what I'm saying? T4, you know what I'm
and then
saying?
maybe if he can build muscle better than I can, then we put him out there as a linebacker and he can wear 46. That'd be tough too.
What other sports can we do it for? Because not football. I don't want the CTE and shit. Like, we got to do something better.
You don't want to what?
And have you don't want to have the injuries for your son.
I mean, yeah, but also the game's changing a lot.
Do like you
Honestly,
could
I've been talking to Mateo. I think I've won her over, but I want to put Evie in like BJJ early,
yeah, why not?
like 5, 6 years old.
I just
But
told John I want to do some
yeah,
self-defense stuff because I've been working out and I'm strong, but I don't really know how to use it. You know, like if someone were to come up and attack me,
right.
like
No, I get it.
I could definitely like shove them and like run, but I don't really, I don't have any moves. I was like, I want to feel confident. If any average person comes up, I can at least, you know what I'm saying, stick them, and get the frick out of there. You know,
That's fair.
I
But
think that's a great idea.
from what I've heard from like people who like have grown up around that type of stuff is like BJJ is it teaches a lot of stuff that like team sports don't.
Hmm.
Because I think team sports are beneficial, but also to a fault. Because like I think the one reason I love golf so much, like I'm addicted to it, is simply because it's solely me versus me. Like if I play like shit, I can't blame anybody but myself.
Golf is so hard.
It is. It's very difficult. But like I want Evie to have like the core like BJJOT a lot of discipline and like mental strength, like a lot of things that I feel like I lacked growing up playing team sports. But I mean, I know Matt's gonna have her golf clubs as soon as she can, and I don't know. In that sense, in terms of athlete wise, like I wanted her to play softball first, just because like the hand eye that comes with that, you can carry that over to every sport. But like you've seen
Hmm.
it, like anybody who goes from one sport to baseball or softball, like they just look awkward. It's not the same. But to get back to your main point of like extended family, not really a concern. I mean, granted, I'm down to have as many kids as Matea wants to have. So, um, every time I say she has 5 more to have, and it freaks her out, but I'm just messing with her. Like if she decides like Evie's our only one, then that's fine. But um, I don't think that's the case. I think right now for sure because like Evie's growing up so fast, there's gonna be a time where she's like, okay, it's time to have another one. But we've talked about it. We don't want Evie to be an only child because I mean I know plenty of only childs that are complete assholes.
Yeah. John's an only child, but he grew up with a lot of people in his house. Like his cousins lived with him.
Well, in kind of the
For a
same
lot of
sense, like we grew up with a lot of like 5 siblings is a lot, but you
yeah.
also got your like personal connections through school. Like you had friends that came to the house. Chelsea, what was
Mhm.
that one girl's name? Holly.
Freaking
So,
Holly.
so I
What? You didn't want to get with any of my friends? You only wanted to get with all Kirsten's friends? Guess my friends weren't cute enough for you.
I remember I used to be hung up on Alec Brand pretty bad.
Yeah. I forgot about that. No, wait, who was into? Because we had to tell you that she was gay. Who was it? Was it Jana? Is that who you was into?
Wasn't Ty into Jana?
Is that who it was? I remember that somebody was
Yeah,
into
no, mine
one
was
of my
Alec Brand. I think Ty's
had to be
was
like,
Jana.
no, she's a
Yeah.
lesbian. Yeah,
Ty
all
said I
those
miss
girls in
Jana.
there.
Ty said I
What'd you
miss.
say?
Ty said I miss Jana.
Ty, you're a fool. She does not even remember you, probably.
But yeah, no. I mean, honestly, that's the only one I remember having a crush on was Allie. But I think Allie was a
Brand.
good mix. Like she was around a little bit, but she wasn't around enough. Like Chelsea was like a sister. Like that'd be weird.
Yeah. I know everybody always thought that me and her were like lesbians, and I was like, that's like the furthest from like our relationship. Absolutely never anything like that.
Yeah.
Like nothing intimate, nothing sexual, like purely a friendship. But everyone in high school still thinks we're lesbians to this day, honestly.
Which I think that's kind of weird too, because like it wouldn't be the same for dudes. Maybe depending. I don't know. I mean, I spent a lot of times with a lot of guys in high school, but people never thought we were gay for each other.
I don't know, maybe it's different because I don't know, girls, you know. Who knows? Also, I did play softball, and at the time, I was like my close friends called me 98%, as in 98% male, as in I was more male than female. So
Yeah, you did have
there's that.
a really big
I was a little bit masculine
yeah,
at the
well,
time,
yeah,
you know.
with your
So
fucking John Deere hat with a fishing hook on it.
can't put it, can't put it past anybody. It was a time.
Well, I will say too. I think I'd say that I know Todd's gonna say something about it, but in terms of like fashion wise, I think we are definitely the most gifted when it comes to fashion. Like we can put some fits together. Me and you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I mean,
But I thought you were saying you and Ty. I
no,
was like,
no. Todd's gonna say otherwise.
listen, do you know what though, Ty? I know you're listening to this. I actually gave you your flowers whenever you came to Toasties with us because I was telling John that you look swaggy, so
Is a fit.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying, I'm me to you. Respect, love, nothing but positivity my
Yeah.
way.
No, but, I mean, you definitely got me beat, but like, there's been plenty of times where I made Mateo put on some shit. I'm like, change the pants, put on some different shoes. Like that ain't it. Um,
I
you
freaking
did.
love
That
it.
was
I
a
love
fit, Ty.
fashion.
But so kind of go off of that. Like, what I know that you do earrings. Like you make earrings. Are those yours that you're wearing?
No, I got these off
I was
Shein.
about to say that'd be hard if you did those.
I know.
So what are you business wise? What are you into right now?
Okay, so I do make earrings, but here's the thing. I made earrings. I think you touched on this a little bit earlier about um like doing something and then like why not make money since you're doing it anyway. I made earrings for myself. People liked them, people wanted them, people bought them. Cool, love it. Then I went out and did this event, like think of it like a trade show, like set up all my earrings, everything. I sold some stuff, but I hated it. Hated it. Like I only like doing that for fun. I realized because sometimes you have to start a business venture to realize that it's not for you.
Agreed.
So we're like, we're not doing that anymore. Now, I still have people reach out to me that say like, "Hey, do you have like XYZ earrings?" And I'll still sell them, of course, but it's just not something I realized quickly that like this is just something I love to do and
So
I have to
is it
keep it that way
was
or
it
I'm not gonna.
the making them, or was it like the going to sell them that you didn't like?
So it was selling them. I have a problem selling them because I don't ever like there's not a lot of money in them. No matter what kind I make, like you're talking my like what I'm spending to make them like less than 30 cents each. You know what I'm saying? So to me, to go out to a trade show and ask people for like even even like $5 a pair seems crazy to me because I only have 30 cents in them. But
Right.
here's the thing. This is
Never gonna
why
turn though.
I previously thought I was not a business person because I was like, "Oh no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this." It's not that. It's just I want to do like I don't want to sell things. I don't like the physical aspect of like selling these things to you. I'm better at services and doing like the back end of that. So to answer your question, John and I have started a furniture assembly company where we like build and install flat pack furniture for people. We have a few clients in our Rolodex now, but we're expanding just in the Louisville area for any like services like that. And then also like light furniture delivery depending on like the area and what people need. Um, and then my Richanti brand, that's just kind of like an overarching brand with like my fashion and jewelry. Just like basically a creative outlet, if you will.
Okay. I could see that too. Like I don't know. I think that's the same. I'm kind of on the same wave. Like I don't get me wrong. I love when people sub, but at the same
Mhm.
time, if you're gonna pay $5 every month to sub to the
Mhm.
channel and not get like the only thing you really get from that is you can use different emotes, but like you don't get commercials.
Right.
So I get paid for commercial, so I have commercials. But my thing
Mhm.
is, I would much rather you buy a hoodie, a T-shirt, something, so that you have
Mhm.
something for yourself. And
Mhm.
it's not like my shit's like crazy expensive. There's streamers with like $100 merch. That's insane.
Yeah.
A lot of my shit is lower than what you're gonna find on average, like $30 for a hoodie.
Mhm.
Now, granted, depending on the hoodie, like the like champion stuff, it's gonna be more expensive. But I like the concept of like you having something outside of just saying like, oh yeah, I'm subscribed to TJ's channel. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? But no, I get that.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
get that frame of mind. I guess.
I don't want to feel like I'm ripping people off, which John is helpful in reminding me that just because my materials don't cost anything, my time does. And I think that's the hard part for me to understand is like or even just to put a value on that, to say like I'm worth X amount of money for this amount of time that I put into it. It's just hard to calculate, I guess, for me,
That's fair.
which makes it just, you know, hard. But I will say it's something that I still love to do and I continue to do it for myself, weekly. So it's not a loss.
That's fair. And ultimately, I think that it's I think your self awareness is good too in the business world. I think a lot of people just kind of they're either like super arrogant or they're like not sure of themselves, so they like either undershoot or overshoot what they actually can do.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that like you know what you're capable of. Now, granted, the worth shit like anybody that actually likes what you're doing is gonna have a monetary value for you.
Mhm.
Like I'll pay you this amount of money, and sometimes I catch you off guard. Like somebody's like, "Oh, I'll give you $30 for this pair of earrings." You're like, "Bro, what?" But I don't know. I think the self awareness is good to have.
Yeah, and like knowing like where what your strengths are and what maybe you're not so good at or that you don't, like I said, enjoy, you know, being able to identify those things and then adjust accordingly. And also some things just take time. Like I'm not selling earrings right now, but who knows if 3 years from now things change and I'm like I figure out a different style that I like to do and it's hot and
Or maybe
takes off.
even
I told y'all this is our year. I want to be a millionaire by the end of the year. So
And maybe even
Who
if it's
knows?
like you make the earrings and somebody else sells them. You know what I mean? That way
Yeah, that's a
it
thought for
separates
sure.
you.
Which
That
yeah, exactly. It takes me out of it, which maybe is the thing. Because here's the thing: I've never been in sales. I'm very much a service kind of person. Like I provide a service to you, not a salesperson.
that's fair.
Never thrived in those roles because nothing I was ever selling was worth
Worth it.
people buying. You know, like I don't think you should buy this, honestly.
Yeah.
I think you should buy something else.
I think there's kind of being on both sides where I've done sales jobs and I've done service jobs. You get like a better, and granted, it could be like my business background and like studying it, but like you get
Mm.
like I can look at somebody's business and tell you like based off of your morals and your values of why you're doing this, if you're gonna be successful or not, especially like place wise. So like some people are, a lot of people simply go into a business they don't even like to make money because there's money to be made, which all credit to you if that's what you're gonna do. But um, I really don't have any interest in it. And like going to like conferences and seeing these people that are coming to schools and charging like out the ass for singing music or something, I'm like I it's harder for me to understand like how you're charging to like play a song that's not yours compared to like teaching somebody something or like giving them knowledge to use later. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because like people will be like somebody could have a really good um like a really good concept of like a leadership development program or something, and they'll go and their price will be like $1,000, and that's like including travel and everything. And then somebody will be like, "Oh yeah, I do pop cover, and I charge 3,000," and I'm like, "Are you high?" But schools book them, so I mean, all power to you.
That's crazy.
But that's, I mean, honestly, that's. I'll go to my last APCA this year as an advisor, and then hopefully, within the following 2 years, I'm there as a presenter. But I got some big things coming. Big things coming over here too.
Of course. Always big things popping.
Oh, I got Evie on a Roth.
Oh, nice.
So I was gonna do a credit. What is it called? A marketing money marketing account, and it's like 2% interest instead of the like 0.01% that a typical
Mm-hmm.
savings account happens. And then I talked to my financial advisor, and she was like, "Have you thought about putting a Roth in her name?" And I was like, "That makes a lot more sense. Let's do that." So I just did that.
Nice. Do you and Evie, I mean, you and Matea have life insurance policies?
We both got them through work, and we Primerica. We have life insurance and invested.
You have a will?
I don't actually.
I don't have one either. But I ain't got shit, so it doesn't really matter. You
Yeah,
do have stuff. So
yeah.
I feel like you need to put stuff,
I don't
like
really
you need to
have that
have,
much shit. I mean, honestly, I actually thought about this the other day. That's actually kind of crazy. I was
you have a daughter, and I think you have to
well. I'm
put
saying
something
like
in your will,
physical things,
right?
like in terms of physical thing. I don't have a house.
I know, but I'm thinking of the most important thing that you have.
No, yeah. I mean, duh.
And you also have Rocky. What you
Second,
gonna do about
second
that?
most important thing. Rocket might not live much longer if he keeps hitting his head on shit.
Oh,
He just runs into shit, full blown, full head of speed.
do you think he's got eye problems?
No, he's just
Because he
crazy.
does have that glass eye,
No,
that blue glass eye that
no.
he's got.
Everybody's like he's blind. I'm like, no, he's not. He's just fucking idiot. He just runs dead sprint on fucking hardwood floors.
Parents, maybe he has vision problems.
Okay, would you? He runs full speed on hardwood floors and stops and then just slides into walls. He doesn't have a vision problem. He has a brain
He
problem.
saw the wall. He just didn't stop for the wall.
Yeah. And he just like does shit to kill himself. He jumped out of a fucking moving
That's
car
terrible.
and almost wrapped himself around a sign. and it was so loud. Also, I meant to touch on this earlier. We were talking about dad. I never understood growing up why I would tell dad something so serious and he'd laugh. I'm starting to understand. Like, I hate to say it because like I wouldn't say trauma came from it, but like I just never comprehended like why are you like I'm telling you something so serious, like when okay. Also, kind of sounds crazy thinking back now, but I remember vividly laying in bed next to Ty at Farmview in the race car bed. This is right after Dad painted the room. You remember he did the heartbeat shit with our names?
Hmm.
Okay, we just started staying there. We're laying in bed.
Oh my God, that memory. I haven't thought about that in a long time.
The basement?
The heartbeat thing.
Yes. Okay. Well, also I got two things to go off that. But we're laying in bed, Ty's asleep, and I feel something jump on the bed. Like it felt like the bed moved. So I look over and I'm like, Ty, dead asleep, like borderline snoring. And I feel movement across the bed and then weight on my feet. Okay. So I'm like, oh, fuck no. Throw the blankets off. I run upstairs. I find Dad in the bathroom and I'm like, Dad, there's a fucking ghost cat in my bed. And he's just like ribs hurting, laughing at me. And I'm like,
That's what I was about to ask you is like, is the serious thing that you were telling him about, did it sound ridiculous? Because
Looking
I
back.
know you and I know the kind of stuff that you were getting into.
Yes. Looking back, yes, 100%. But there's other examples of this happening. But that one I understand. Like that one would make me laugh. I mean,
Like
there's
a
shit that
ghost cat.
Evie does that makes me like Evie will cry and like look at me with her lip out, and I can't help but laugh. Like like it hurts me to see her upset, but at the same time, just like the lip and her face, it just makes you laugh. I get it.
She's too cute.
And when Rocket jumped out the fucking car into the sign, and Mateo's like freaking the fuck out, and he's like, I couldn't help but laugh. That shit was hilarious. Like you're an idiot. You jumped out of a fucking moving car. I'm going 30. What are you doing? What else?
So
One time I was pulling the dolly, pulling again. I can see it. I was a dumbass, but we were trying to build the deck for the pool. Also, having a deck for an above ground pool, kind of crazy. Anyways, it like the sun had just went down, and him
the
and
one
Cindy,
day deck. That's what John calls it. The deck that was built in a day.
but we were doing something. The sun had just went down, and I'm getting center blocks, and I'm like pulling a dolly, like a furniture dolly. So like the wheels are not made to be outside; they're hardwood floor wheels. And I'm pulling this furniture dolly with concrete blocks on it, and I like hit the gravel. You know how we made the circle, and like the back gravel was real big. I hit that circle. Dolly stops, bricks fall off, dolly right in the mouth. So it's like dark. I'm crying. Dad and Cindy come running up. Like, what happened? I was pulling the dolly and it hit me in the mouth. And Dad's like, why are you pulling the dolly, dumbass? And then he starts laughing. I will say the one time that I was like a traumatic event happened that he didn't laugh was when he slammed my arm in the door.
That was serious. That was serious.
Oh
enough.
yeah, no, I think he thought he broke my arm. But also, I was a dumbass. He was in the back, fucking getting tools to do this job, and I'm like, me and Cindy's in the front seat, and I'm reaching in the back like, Dad, Dad, and he fucking slams the car door. So I start screaming, and then he rears back to slam it again, and realizes my arm's like fucking broken. But that was the first time I ever was in a bar. And the
Listen,
bartender
who
asked me
else?
when I wanted Coke, and I said yes.
That is the stupidest story.
But
Listen.
I've date like there's certain things that were like I feel like were more serious that I told him and he laughed hysterically at, but I was being so serious. But I get it. I understand it now. I didn't, but now I get it. Like I'll hold Evie, and she'll be like fake crying, and then she'll be like, and that shit makes me laugh.
It probably will only get worse as she gets grown and like
Oh,
smart
for
and stuff,
sure.
and she's like talking. Like you're gonna be cracking up.
Yeah, like when she starts asking all those questions, I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna be that dad that makes shit up. Like, Dad, how many ducks are in the world? 45,000 billion. She'd be like, really? Yeah, that many? Yeah, that's crazy. Just like, that's gonna be me as a dad. Because I'll already do that with Mateo. I'll tell her shit that's not real. and then she'll like go like take it as pure fact, and then she'll tell somebody. I'm like, don't fucking. I was full of shit. I'm just fucking with you. Do not tell people that.
John tells me very serious things, and I do not believe him. I'm like, I don't know if this is true or not. It always just sounds crazy.
That's fair. I can't. Oh, fuck. I remember I told an ex girlfriend one time that something, like something crazy, like just made it up on the fly, like slipped it in her head, and she stuck with it. I see you, Ty. Hold on. And then we were like that same weekend we're like with her parents, and she says this shit, and this is like somebody who's like planning to be a chemistry, some like high end chemistry, and she says that, and her dad looks like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I was like, hey, shut the fuck up. I was just fuck with you, and you're embarrassing me right now. Ty said, do y'all remember the handprints that we did on the concrete slab?
Yeah, for sure. Out back to
Also,
Farmview.
apparently that's more
With a
common.
hot tub that we never used because it was never functional.
The one that Ty
But that's
beat.
why we poured that concrete slab was for that hot tub, and then we never used it. And then it was just like a basketball thing, I think.
Also, I vaguely remember us having to like poke holes in the bottom of that fucking hot tub because it was just holding water and it was getting mosquitoes in it.
Yes, literally. It was just a piece of junk that Dad thought that he could like get a part to fix it, and as he did, he didn't do it. Hey, listen, my question for you is, who else do you have lined up for this podcast? Who else is going to be on the show?
know.
Is Ty getting on the show? I want to see.
Yeah, I can get Talon.
Get Ty on the show.
I don't know. I might get Stevante on here. Wait for Ty in chat. But no, I'll get Ty on here. Probably get Kirsten on here. Maybe about see. Yeah, no, I know. And then you just like beat it to pieces. I feel like eventually, you're still talking about the hot tub. But yeah, maybe John. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I know. I probably got some people here that I could get on here. He said, "Brother, ew." But yeah, I just want to talk to different people. So we touched on it at the beginning. What was kind of like your, do I call it come to Jesus or do I call it come to magic for you? What was your like your moment of like, okay, like I have a problem with alcohol and I need to like figure out how to go about fixing it?
Okay, so October of 2023, I was working actually. A friend of mine got married and she asked me to coordinate, like day of coordination for her wedding. So I did, and I didn't have a drink at all during the coordination. Wedding went great, everything was fine. And then she was like, you're dismissed, your duties are done, like I want you to have a good time. And then I drank a lot of wine, probably like 2 bottles. Um, I don't really remember. Like everything is like pieced together, but like I left with some people. John left the wedding without me. I think he had a shit, honestly. So he like went home.
You're such a bro.
I was, I was like, I'm staying. I'm hanging out with my friends, like whatever. So I left
Like
with
a
two.
fucking New Year's party, Alyssa. Like I'm staying, and then call him to pick him up.
Literally. So I leave with this couple. I know the couple. I've worked with the girl for a long time, but I leave with them and they go take me to a bar in the Highlands. They said I was like jumping out of the car in traffic, that I was like running down the street. Just like being a nuisance to society. And then we ended up going to a bar. John came to pick me up from there, and then the next day I had to like, it was so embarrassing. I didn't know where my like, I'm gonna say I don't know where my clothes were, but I like changed for the wedding. So like I had 2 sets of clothes. I went home in very much dressed, but like I didn't know where my clothes were. I didn't know like where any of my stuff was. I was like piecing together the night before. And that was not like that was not a new thing. Like that was something that would happen often. Like I can't tell you how many times I would wake up from a night of drinking and like immediately think, do I have my wallet? Do I have like XYZ, like whatever things that are important to me that that I may have left at the bar, or left wherever I was drinking. Um so that was the last time I drank. Um So that's what I count as my like sobriety date. Now, I will say I am not like since that date I have had drinks of alcohol. So I'm not like 100% like I don't start it over every time. Because I for a while was temp checking and just seeing like if it was a lifestyle that I wanted to get back in because when I quit drinking it wasn't forever. It was just like I realized there was an immediate problem. I didn't like who I was when I was drinking and I knew that like something had to change. So it was kind of just like let me cleanse, let me get out of it and then see how it goes. And then it just kind of turned into I think it was like 30 days and then it was 60 days and then it kind of got to a point where the milestones made me like kind of want to have a drink because I'm like, oh, I want to celebrate. Like let's do it. And the only time since then I've only been and I won't even call it drunk, but we'll just call it changed, like tipsy, whatever. It was one time I was at home. I was at home with John and I freaked out. I hated it. And ever since then, which that probably was at this point like 6 months ago, or more, I've been completely sober from alcohol.
That's a good accomplishment.
And
I'm proud of you.
I don't miss it. I don't miss it at all, man. I do not miss it. I do not miss who I am. I actually talked to John about it the other day, and he was like, I don't want to be like, I don't want to sound rude. He was like, but I don't miss drunk Alyssa. And he's right because he got the worst of it. Like any negative like emotion that came out of me when I was drunk, which I know you've gotten the bad end of that sometimes,
Ty
you
said
know,
that you were a bully
that
off of
was
liquor.
towards him all the time.
Yeah.
So just imagine like what you got from me to him for no reason, you know? So yeah, it's just, I will say it's hard to be a grown up adult with friends
The drink.
and not
Yeah.
because like I don't mind that people drink, but I found that number one, people you used to drink with, they're not your friends anymore because you're not I can't really tolerate them,
Yeah.
honestly, which is telling for the types of people that I was hanging out with.
Right.
But also I find that they don't really want to hang out with me, which is fine because they knew a different version of me, and that's cool.
Right.
But I don't mind to go out and be around. Like I don't care. I went to a bar and had like a mocktail with my friend a couple weeks ago. I don't care if other people drink around me. I don't give a shit. I don't drink, so it's easy for me to stay
Right.
sober because I don't drink. Like I told John when I was leaving for the bar because he joked because Amelia is a girl that I used to drink heavily with, and he before I was leaving he joked. He said, "Don't let Amelia talk you into any drinks tonight." And I was like, "Haha, I don't drink. Like I'm not drinking anything." But yeah, it's been great,
Oh yeah.
honestly.
And it seemed like
And
it's helped your marriage a lot
health,
too.
oh, for sure. And health benefits, like I know that I know it's like a boring thing to talk about, but I can't tell you
I'm all
like
for it.
one, how much weight I lost, two, gosh, like number one, I say weight I lost. Alcohol is so like bloating.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like a balloon. Like I was inflated when I was you can see like a side by side of how I look now. Like I had like my whole face was just it's crazy. It's just crazy to see the pictures. But outside of that, just being able to work out, not getting like winded, like not worrying about hangovers is honestly the best thing because the older I get, the worse they are. And it's like I don't want to take 2 days to recover and miss out on life for those 2 days
Oh, for sure.
just for a night of drinking, you know?
Yeah. I think too, like I feel like that's common. Like when you talk to people who have given up alcohol or given up, some type of vice. It's like you have two stories. Like you have one that's like, okay, I have a problem. But for me, it was like,
Mhm.
do I have a problem? And like being around people who
Mhm.
actually have like had issues of like being around people in NA and they're like, yeah, it sucked dick to get this drug. And I'm like, bro, I like drugs. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not about to suck somebody up to get some drugs. Um,
No, yeah, I
so
feel
like
that.
that kind of was like
Also never was like a daily like I was not an alcoholic in the sense of like drinking at work
yeah,
and things like that. Like it was never like that.
right,
Now, it was drinking after work for sure. You know what I'm saying?
right,
Like I would come home and have, a glass of wine or whatever, but it was never I was never to the point where I was like functioning during the day while drunk. Like
yeah,
it was never to that point. But it doesn't matter because when you drink every night and all weekend long, like I don't remember I physically do not remember large chunks of my life. And
yeah.
that's scary. That shouldn't be a thing.
Well, see, too, that was interesting to me too. Like when you said like, you told me that you can't just have a drink, and that was kind
Yeah.
of
Like just
like that was a sign for you that you had a problem. Which like for me, that's interesting because like I was never in that position where I couldn't have a drink. Like I could go out even at the prime of my drinking. Granted, was I hanging out with the best people for the situation I was in? Probably not. But at the same time, I could go out and have a drink and then go home and call it a night. But that was interesting to me. And like I don't think there's ever been a time where I've like blacked out and not remembered anything. I feel like that's probably a super scary feeling to have. Of like I don't remember shit.
In the moment, I feel like there were only a couple times, like, so, like, when drinking and getting to a point of, like, blackout, and, like, say the next day you wake up and you don't remember. Like, number one note, I was most always with John, so I wasn't ever, like,
In danger,
it
right?
wasn't like I was going to, like, scary, like, frat parties and shit. I was with John. We were, like, together, usually in a group of people. But when I say I don't remember, it's like looking back. It's like John will say, "Oh, like, we went to this place with these people. Like, do you remember that?" And I'm like, "I have no recollection of that." Like there are people that I have met since, like, after my drinking years, that John's like, "You've met them, like, several times before out at the club." I'm like, "No, I have not." This Alyssa has never met that person. Like, has not. And there have been even things that, like, maybe I wasn't drunk for, but it was during, like, a time when I was, like, heavily drinking, like, around that time. Like, I just don't remember. And to me, especially now, with Evie coming into the family, it's like I don't want to miss stuff like that. Like it's not, to me, it's not worth it. Like, what's the point of having this, like, fun time of, like, drinking in the moment when I won't remember any of
For
this,
sure.
whether it's tomorrow or down the line. Like, I want to remember everything. And that was one thing too, when I kind of started to see it that way, is when we went on our cruise. So that was actually the summer before I quit drinking. But we got an inclusive drink package on that cruise, and we did not take advantage because we were like, we're savoring every moment of this trip.
Yeah.
Like, we are not forgetting any of
Well,
it.
too, that I think that's a large part of like why I don't really drink now. Like I can go out and have a drink. I went out for my boss going away. I had a beer and a shot, but I was like, everybody's getting fucked up, and I'm like, bro. First of all, the entire day y'all are acting like this man's dead. He's right here. He's still alive. Like you text him whenever you want, and he'll respond. So like that was kind of crazy to me. But they were like, let's get fucked up, and I'm like, bro. First of all, y'all are 40. I'm 26 and I have no interest. So like problem. Um,
No.
but like I think for me, I'm more likely to have a drink if like I'm not with Evie. So like there's that
Hmm.
like protection aspect of like when I'm with Evie and Matea, I don't care if Matea. Granted, I don't know if you're the same way, but 90% of the time we're out and Matea's with me, it's la di da di da, no care in the world, like no clue what's going on around her. And she's like, "Oh well, I'm way better when like I'm out with just Evie," and I was like, "I'd fucking hope so," because like
Like, if you're not, we're gonna have
yeah,
some
the
problems.
second we walk in the door, it's like I'm scoping out the place, like who's a red flag, like who do I need to keep an eye on. But like that's I can be present in conversation and still have that like okay, like here's our exits. If some shit pops off, I can do this, this, and this. And like I carry all the time, so like I have that as well. But I feel like the slightest like drink or alcohol like affects that decision making in my brain, and I don't like if it's just me, that's one thing, but bringing them into the picture also made it a lot easier for me to like if we were drinking 9 times out of 10 we're at the house or Evie's not
Mhm.
around. And I mean, Matea, she bought a fuck ton of wine, like too much wine when we went to Gatlinburg.
I have two thoughts. One, I think that it's like a male protector
Yeah.
kind of
No,
thing, because
absolutely.
John said the same
Yeah.
thing about us going out, because I mentioned that I don't think I've ever actually seen him, like, drunk.
Yeah.
And it's because we usually drink out. And he was like, he was like, "I don't have the luxury that you do of
Right.
getting plastered and not knowing what's going on, because if something pops off, I'm responsible for you. And I have to make sure that everything is good and we're going to get out of this.
Right.
So I drink lightly to make sure that I have exactly what you said, the ability to take care of your people, man. You've got to."
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think I don't know. I feel like there's one point in time that I like completely blacked out, don't remember anything. It's just based off of like what I've been told, but it was not just off like it was like a handful of pills and alcohol. So like usually you
Mm,
mix things. That's the outcome. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
correct.
Um, I mean, I'm honestly just looking back now. I'm just thankful I didn't kill anybody. That's the biggest thing. But no, I think I'm definitely proud of you. Like that's a big accomplishment, and I think more than
Thank
anything,
you.
like knowing that there was an outline issue there. Do you feel like with alcohol, it's like you use it as like a shield, like you kind of use it as a crutch with like mental problems and
Yeah, I numbed my life for 10 years, and that's one thing that I feel like you don't necessarily know is going to come as a side effect of getting sober is like any any emotions that you should have experienced in the time that you were drinking are now like you're going to experience them now.
right,
So it's like the last 10 years of bullshit that I've dealt with. Because you got to think, like, aside from dad dying, like COVID, you know what I'm saying? Just like big things happened. And I was just numb to it all. So that's something that I have to remind myself in my I'm gonna call it recovery. I don't know, that's kind of a weird word, but in my recovery process of just being patient with myself and understanding like, hey, like these are big feelings and you haven't felt any of them for a very long time. And you have to in order to get through it, to heal.
no, absolutely. Todd said he was proud of you too.
You.
With kind of going off of that, like your understanding is like using some type of substance to cope with something. You're basically just prolonging the inevitable. Like eventually, it's gonna catch up to you. Like, or I mean, I guess in some cases it doesn't. Like if somebody just drinks themselves to death, then they never have to deal with their issues.
Yeah, well, yeah. And I think there's something to be said for sure about like using anything, whether it's because I do think that there's a place for antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications and things like that, but you just have to you have to remember and keep in mind that those things are designed to numb you. Like even just think about it if you take a Tylenol, like, it's not fixing whatever the pain is, it's
Right.
just numbing
Yeah,
it.
for sure.
So you have to get to that underlying pain and figure out why you're having it or where it's coming from or even just some things like with dad, like to this day, to this moment, like I will have an outburst of sadness, anger, like many things that I can't necessarily like pinpoint or tell you why it's happening. I just know it's connected to that.
Right.
And it's just, every day you just have to work through it.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I think too, like that's an interesting take. I think for me, like I think one of my biggest vices, like once I was like, okay, you don't need drugs, you're just using them, and then I kind of fell back onto alcohol and sex. For me, the sex side, it's not. I wouldn't say like has damaged me and Matea's relationship, but I think like she doesn't know how many people I've been with, but she knows. So like there's like it's slight doubt in her mind of like, oh well, if he wants somebody else, that he would be with somebody else. But for me, like I've said, granted, I tell these kids that are doing the same, going down the same path that I'm going down of like, oh, it's convenient. I can sleep with whoever I want with, and then send them home, and then do it again the next night. I tell them like, if I could go back and change one thing about the past 10 years of my life, I would save myself till marriage. And they're all like, no, you're crazy, bro. You're crazy. I was like, that's coming from a mindset of like, you know what it's like to have sex, so that's why you keep doing it. Like you enjoy it. I said, but when it gets to a point to where you feel like you took something away from like your person, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like if I'd saved myself for Matea,
Hmm.
then I feel like our relationship would be stronger. But I didn't have that opportunity. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I could see that for sure. There's something to be said about sharing that moment, but also about being just giving yourself to like just one person,
And
like
of
being
course,
connected with that
so like
person in a way.
I think the craziest thing, like I remember I was talking to like a good friend of mine, and he's Catholic, and I was like, isn't one of like the core things of Catholicism is like you save yourself to marriage? And he's like, yeah. And I'm at the time I'm a whore, and I'm like, I could never, bro. That's crazy. I was like, what if it's trash? And he's like, how would you know? And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, if you never had sex, how would you know it was bad? And I was like, holy shit. I was like,
How
that's
would you know?
I was like, that's crazy. I was like, that honestly just blew my mind. I was like, dude, that's wild. Like,
Also, I'm a firm believer that there's not bad. There's just like needs work, right?
eh, teach your own, I guess.
You can fix it
Mm,
most times.
I don't know. I
I
don't
guess it
know.
depends on
Yeah,
what the
I
problem
mean, I
is.
guess different strokes for different folks, but I mean, I've had some that I wish I could forget about.
That's funny.
Um,
But yeah,
so,
I feel like any of that stuff that you're using, sometimes you're just using things inappropriately, like using things too much in excess.
no, for sure. Do you think that what would you say your biggest challenge in life has been? Do you think it's dad? Do you think it's your battles with drinking?
I think it stems from dad, but I think it is actually living my life for me, like with no um like I didn't realize how much I relied on dad for support and motivation and um I don't know, it's just like whenever I accomplished something, I feel like he was the first person I went to because he was so supportive. And after he died, I don't feel like anybody has come close to matching that level of support for me. And so I had to like realize that that has to come from within. Like I have to be proud of myself, and that I can't look for that from somewhere else. And I didn't even know that it had anything to do with dad until much, much later. But I realized that he was the one like go to for me, and that there really wasn't. I mean, obviously, the people in my life care about me and they care about what I'm doing and they, support me in their own ways, but it never felt the same. And I think that's when I had to take a step back and realize that that's not what was missing. It was something within me, if that makes
Yeah, no,
sense.
that makes a lot of sense. And I think too, like I get that. Like I remember like, coming home after like baseball or something right after dad died, and I was like, I can't wait to tell dad this. And then I was like, oh,
Hmm.
so like
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's something as like a parent that you enjoy that, like you like
Hmm.
being somebody that your kids can confide in, but also knowing that like tomorrow's not promised. Like you have to I have to keep that in mind, knowing that eventually one day, hopefully in the far future, Evie's not gonna have me to come and tell me about her day and me get excited about it. So I mean there's some like parenting techniques that me and Mateva's looked into of
Hmm.
uh like self appreciation in a sense. So like one example that I like a lot is like if your kid shows you a picture that they made, like drew, instead of
Hmm.
telling them like, "Oh, that's so good," do you ask them how they feel about it? So then they have to come up with their own idea, and then you just match whatever they say. So then it's all self, and it's not focused on somebody
Okay.
else's opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I guess it's like I said, I didn't even realize that I'd held him to this
Right.
like standard, in the moment. It was just like it's like you said, you get excited as a kid and you're like, oh, like this is what I did. But even until I remember, I'll never forget, he was like bad off. Like we were at Fagenbush, and I don't know if hospice had been called in yet, but he was not very like he wasn't conscious all the time. And I had gotten a promotion at work, and I like couldn't wait to go and tell him. And I did, and who knows if he was there or not, like coherent
Right.
enough to know or care in that moment. But it was just like, I don't know, it was just important to me at the time, I guess, to tell him, but more so because I felt like he would be proud, you know?
Yeah. No, I get that, and I think too, like the I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say like everybody has that. Like I feel like there's a lot of people that they didn't have that growing up. You know what I mean? Like they didn't have that like overwhelming sense of love from somebody. So
For
like
sure.
they find it themselves or they go looking for it in somebody else. But I
Mhm.
don't know. It's interesting. I mean, it goes off the trauma aspect. Like that's not necessarily something I took from like dad passing. That I'm like, okay, this is a problem, or like I didn't know this was a problem for me. But
Mhm.
I don't know. I think that like you add those different perspectives, and like Ty doesn't even remember a lot of the shit that we've been talking about. So
Mhm.
like Ty, I mean, when do you become like cognitive of shit? Like 5?
I mean, I think it depends on a lot of things because you also have to think that trauma can play into a lot of
Yeah.
that, and trauma is a big thing, like, just like alcohol, like, it can completely mess with your memory too, so it's like, you maybe he could have remembered, but then so many things happened in his short life that,
I think honestly, Ty, a lot of your issue is that it's not necessarily that you don't remember. I think your mind remembers, but you try to suppress so much shit that you're covering up the good stuff too.
yeah, that's part of it too.
Yeah, I mean, I find that going through therapy, I got core mandated therapy through school, and I had to go. And honestly, it's probably one of the best things to happen to me.
I had to go to therapy, through work. Was yours right after dad died?
No, no, no. This is
That's
like in
was
college. This is in college.
I think they were, like, worried about me. But it probably also because I'm a psychopath, and I just, like, the day after just went back to work like nothing happened.
Well, yeah, same shit though. Like I remember being pissed that they didn't wake me up to go to school the next day, like the day after dad died, and I was like, "What the fuck? I got a
Yeah, like,
test."
he died, and I was off that day, obviously, and then we had the services, so whatever from when he died to whenever the services was, I feel like I didn't
Yeah,
work. Then, like, that very next day, what else am I supposed to do? I have to make a living.
right, literally.
Like, life doesn't stop just because he died, like,
Yeah,
unfortunately, so it's back to it, but I think it was just, like, it was so normal, like, I was not showing any sign because, again, I was drinking heavily. So, I was, like, just basically working to get off the clock to drink and then was just numb, so
which I think too. Like I think a lot of that comes with like what we learned from dad, like the hard work and kind of like his
mhm.
expectations of
Sure.
us. Because like I
Yeah,
remember
like,
being pissed. Like I was like, okay, like I remember being in the living room and everybody's like sitting there crying, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to bed. Like I got a test tomorrow, and then I like what the fuck am I doing here? Like yeah, I'm sad, but like we're just gonna fucking sit here and cry all night. Like I got shit to do.
bro, I was just talking to John literally earlier today just about, like, not knowing that things are trauma, like, just not knowing. Like, I didn't know that it was, like, an experienced trauma that, like, our lights got cut off and shit at the house. Like, I didn't know that that
I
was
don't really see
trauma.
that as a trauma. I mean, I guess it
It's just
could
an
be. I guess it depends on the person.
I mean,
Yeah.
it could be,
Yeah.
like,
Well, I mean,
well, and
especially
here's
like
where the trauma
when you
comes in
tell
though.
people.
The trauma comes in from not having your basic needs met,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's like that in itself, that instance in itself, no, it's not traumatic. But not having water, not having electricity slash being able to cook slash whatever, that is, I feel like, where the trauma
That's
part
fair.
comes in. But it's just so interesting that I just, like, don't see it that way. And then you, like, dad dies and you're just like, oh, I got a test tomorrow. See ya.
And I was pissed,
See you in
bro.
the next life. Yeah, go to school.
Like literally didn't wake me up to catch the bus, and I'm like, bro, what the fuck? Like I got a fucking test, and like your dad just died. I'm sure they'll understand. I was like, I don't give a fuck. I got a test to take. But
Like, that's not what we're doing
I think the
here.
two like I think a lot of factors play into that because like for me, and I'm sure for Ty, like when we were at Farmview and the lights were off and we went and stayed at Grand's for that fucking hot minute, that was just
Mhm.
like for as a kids, like you were cognitive enough to know, okay, like something's going on here. For us, it's like, oh, sleep over Grand's. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I remember, like
Yeah.
I tell people shit like from our childhood, like fucking, oh, like dad turned the fucking power on after it gets turned off, and then they had to turn it on at the pole, and then he went and fucking got a ladder that was long enough, like rented a ladder that was long enough to reach the pole to turn it back on. Like I told people that, they're like, "Oh my god," and I'm like, "Bro, that's hilarious. What are you talking about?"
But what did I tell you? Tenacity. That
Yeah.
man was not going to tell you that he wasn't going to do what he was going to do. He was going to get it done.
When I think at Farmview, like they had turned the water off so many times that he kept turning it back on that they were like, fuck it, just leave it on. Because I would literally just open the thing and turn it back on, and I think they locked it.
Cable,
Yeah.
like a motherfucker. We had free cable every house we ever lived at because I don't even know how he did that. I don't even think you can do that now.
I don't know, but yeah, like it's like I tell people that, and like I remember telling a therapist small shit like that. He was like, "Wow," and I'm like, "Was that crazy?" Like,
Also, he fell out of a tree with a chainsaw.
yeah.
That's
But
trauma,
also,
my guy.
I think the biggest issue. Yeah, no, I think the biggest issue for me. Yeah, they had to cut the lock off the water eventually, but I think the biggest thing for me, like with Dad, is the hardest thing to wrap my brain around was like, this man was a fucking superhero. Like, not only the shit that we know, like, yeah, he fell out of a fucking 150-foot tree, landed on his back, and Kim was like, "Are you okay?" And he was like, "Give me a minute." Okay, yeah, okay. But fucking wakes up from a dead sleep with a fucking port in his chest and beats the shit out of your dog that just attacked Sydney. Falls off a fucking porch backwards, busts his head open with a port in his chest, gets up, gets a rag, and goes to work. Fucking falls asleep at work at UPS in the back of a plane. Somebody fucks with him. He wakes up and puts him through the side of a plane. Like, just the shit that I've seen him do at work. That's like, what? Like, what? Like,
I know John was talking about too that a time when he was working with Dad and they were moving something, like I think AC unit or something, and he was like, something about how are we gonna get it in there? And Dad was like, "What do you mean?" And then just fucking strapped it on his back and carried it in.
Dude.
John was like, "I ain't never seen nobody do some shit like
we were in the
before."
fucking kitchen of Farmview, and the refrigerator went bad or something, or we got a new one. And he was like, "We gotta get this fridge out." So I'm like, "Okay, well, like, fucking, I'm 13. Like, my arms aren't long enough to reach the back of the fridge, so I can't get any leverage." So I'm like, "Dad, I can't pick it up." And he's like, "Get out the way!" Like, huffing and puffing, fucking leans forward, pulls the fridge up on his back, and moves out of the way. I'm like, "What the fuck? Like, you're not a human being." And then like pulling furnaces, one hand pulling furnaces up a fucking attic ladder.
Like, where did the strength come from, though? Because he didn't even work out.
That's the
Like,
thing.
it wasn't like he just stayed in the gym.
Yeah.
I've never seen that man do any workout.
And it's all from like actual
Never.
experience. Like, it's carrying fucking furnaces by himself and AC units. Like, it's just that.
And then also riddle me this: how did cancer take him out? Like, come on, guy.
And that's what I'm saying. That was like my biggest disassociation. Like, there's no way this is real, bro. Like, this man's done all this crazy shit that is not human-like. Like, the only time you would see a human do this shit is like somebody on PCP, right? And then cancer, bro. And then even that, it's like when he said like, "I'm kicking cancer's ass," everybody's like, "You're right. Fuck it. He's beat it."
You ain't wrong.
And then
you
fast forward 6 months and he can't fucking talk, and you're like, "What the fuck happened, bro?"
Ugh. What a time.
Yeah, no, definitely wild. But just, fuck, dude's insane. But also, I feel like I catch glimpses of him and me every day. Like, somebody will do something, like, especially with summer crew, where I'm like teaching kids shit that they've never done, like carpentry shit. And like, I'll send somebody to get a tool, and then they'll come back to me like, "I can't find it," and then I'll go exactly where I told them was. And I'm like, "Bro, my dad would have told me that if it was a snake, it would have bit me in the ass." But it's just, dude, like, and then I remember him pulling me out of school. Do you remember when he got that truck from that car shop, the car dealership?
Truck?
That red truck that he had, like, when he died?
Pickup truck?
Yeah. So, I remember it was like 12 o'clock, and I'm getting ready, like, I'm fucking laying in bed, and he comes in there, he's like, "Trey, get up," and I'm like, "What's wrong?" And he's like, "We gotta go do this job," and I'm like, "I got school in like 7 hours. What are you talking about?" We go to this car dealership, nobody's there. They left the doors unlocked, super sketchy, right? And it's like maybe 12 feet, like we had to lay, He was redoing their floors, like he was doing tile floors. So we laid like 12 feet of floors, and then we go back in and make sure everything's level and ironed out. And we finish, it's like 4. And we get in the car, and he looks at me, he goes, "You ready for school?" And I was like, "Take me home, I'm going the fuck to bed." And multiple times. We did it one time, it was like right after he started treatment when he was working at the Grove, and an apartment flooded, and we had to go shop vac it. Granted, don't know I was there. Like, yeah, I know you're sick, but like, you just
Did you even do any work?
Yeah, I mean, he fucking made me stay in the apartment with a shop vac on the floor. And then the same shit. You ready to go to school? I'm like, no, bro, I'm going to sleep. What the fuck? Take me home. And the number of times he's done this shit.
Also, why was this not like? Why was this responsibility not on like me, like Kirsten? Like we were grown adults, weren't we?
Yeah, but y'all weren't home. This is at the one at the car dealership. No, they both would have been after y'all had moved out.
No, I definitely have
You would
done
have
that.
been there. Yeah, you would have been there.
So I'm like, what the hell? Why was I not? Maybe I was just working.
No, it's just,
You know what? Maybe I was working. Maybe that's when I was working. So I was working nights at Planet Fitness. Anyway, maybe I was just busy. Who knows?
yeah. I mean,
Maybe I
also,
was drunk. I was too drunk to go.
but at the same time, I think a lot of it just comes down to like first son.
Oh, you were supposed to be in. You said middle school,
But yeah,
bro. No, that should not have been your responsibility. But do you want to know one thing about you in middle school?
I was a shit ass.
Went to your what?
I was a shit ass.
You weren't that bad.
Mm.
I went to your basketball game with a fake baby, and some dumb bitch was like, "Oh my gosh, what a cute baby! Looks just like its dad."
I recall.
It was a black fake baby.
I recall.
Hate that for us. I will never forget that, and also that's the only memory I have of your school.
No, I recall.
Aside from the future games, I do remember one of those.
But no, like there's a lot of shit that I like fond memories.
Hey, is Ty still on the chat?
Probably. Ty, you still here?
Can you ask him whatever happened to that kid Robin he played football with?
I mean, he can hear you. You talking about the little fucking beanhead kid?
Yeah, a little bad kid. Me
Did
and
he get run
John
over by a car?
I want to know what happened to him. Is someone coming into
That
this
was
chat?
Ty. That was Ty.
Oh, why didn't he pop up?
Yo, Ty, whatever happened to Robin?
He got hit by a car.
Yeah, I knew that.
He died?
No, he
No.
it drug him to the
Oh,
Heights
I
Point
haven't.
parking lot. You don't recall that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like
yeah.
I remember that. I'm talking about what happened to him in life. Did you keep up with him? Do you know what's going on with him?
No, he was bad as hell.
You don't even have him on socials?
Not at all.
Bro, he was such a fucking.
He used to call me the hard R. Why would I want to associate with that?
He called you the hard R?
Yes, on the regular. I don't know.
A white
Thought
guy.
it was funny.
No, he was a heathen for sure.
Yeah, I was just wondering if anybody knew what was up with him.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Damn, bitch, why would you close the doors? All right, well,
You can continue. My shit was tweaking.
anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here?
Nah, man, this has been a fun time.
For sure.
I
Maybe
appreciate the invite.
Maybe eventually we can come up with some other topics and then get you back on there.
Yeah, it sounds great. I would love to.
Sounds like a plan. All right, well, I love
Wait
you.
to see who's on. Is it every Tuesday?
Yeah.
All right, I'm tuning in.
All right,
I love you. Thank you so much.
no problem. Thank you. All right, chatty chat. I hope y'all liked the first rendition of T Easy's Talk About It Tuesdays. We're back at it next Tuesday. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Be ready. You're telling me I talk for fucking 3 hours and I can't fucking do my sign off? Be better. Be easy. I'll see y'all next time, baby. Where the fuck is the ending scene?